Hey guys, it's Paul, combat veteran, MMA fighter, YouTuber, and today we are checking out what's probably one of the most requested channels on this channel. This is Mikeburnfire, I think, but this is his military stories compilation. So obviously, as someone who also had the fortune or misfortune of serving in the Army and being deployed and seeing combat, I'm curious to know how another veteran YouTuber is going viral with his crazy stories. So let's get into it.
Cadence along the way.
No, shut up! I hate Cadence.
Yeah, I really hate Cadence.
Left, right, low, right.
Oh my god, shut up.
Left,
Okay, I actually am legitimately being triggered right now.
right,
Okay,
low,
I will
right.
admit. Shut up. I will admit that the Marines have a better cadence system in that they only do cadence when they're like running for like PT.
You think so?
They don't do like other dumb cadences while you're just marching to places.
Okay, I'm going to point this out. In garrison, I don't think I ever saw troops calling cadence when marching somewhere other than training, right? Other than in basic training where you're expected to just march and sing songs. For those of you that don't know, cadence is when this is not exaggerating, in order to stay in step when you're marching in a formation, i.e. everyone's feet hit at the same time, they sing songs. And these songs are sometimes goofy, often inappropriate, but they always have a certain rhythm so that everyone's left foot is hitting the ground at the exact same time. Usually some of them will even integrate for the extra knuckle draggery among us, right? They will actually tell you, they'll be like, when that left foot hits the ground, let me hear that, hua sound, and it'll be like hua, like it's meant to be idiot proof, right? But you can imagine that, a technique that was designed in the Civil War after 150 years of military evolution has turned into almost an exaggerated parody of itself. Anyway, cadence is something that is used all the time in basic training and often at Army schools, like they have airborne cadence runs that you do. But yeah, it's not really effective. Also, running in formation is not effective at physical training because the slowest people who need to kind of be built up a little bit, they experience a almost traumatizing and potentially injuring run, whereas people who are already pretty fit actually also experience an almost traumatizing and injuring run because they have to shorten their stride so much to stay in step. Right? So imagine a marathon runner who is forced to do like an uncomfortable shuffle. You're like, wow, that person, over miles, it would actually hurt their knees. And that's often what happens. So this is a really ineffective way to train a unit. And people always say, oh, well, units have to do things together. And it's like, yeah, then do tactical shit together, right? If you want a physical training, then have everyone put their gear on and go on a combat patrol, right? Walk in formation. Okay, let's hear his take.
That depends on where you go.
The Army does cadence all the time. All of the time. Anytime you march somewhere, you're doing cadence. Which is stupid, because you end up with some of the dumbest cadences ever that people come up with off the top of their head. Like Pebbles and Bam Bam on a Friday night tried to get to heaven on a paper kite. Yeah. And it's like, what the f*** does this have to do with anything?
Okay, I bet that there's probably a version from the 50s that uses like nothing but sexist and racist language. Like it's just pure sexism. And right, that's when the Flintstones debuted, or the 60s, and eventually generation by generation officers were just like, oh my god, Sergeant, you can't say word X. And the sergeant goes, okay, we'll replace horrific slur with paper kite, or we'll replace reference to murdering hobos with Pebbles and Bam Bam. And so you end up with something stupid. And it was stupid when it started, and the result is just stupid not inappropriate.
Then you get other people that are super, super motivated that do dumbass cadences about airborne rangers. And I'm like, we're in a support unit. Not a single one of us is an airborne ranger. None of us will be airborne rangers. Stop with the cadence. It's stupid.
Yes. Oh, God. Oh, my God. The Army's fetish for rangers. And the fact that, like, you can complete ranger school, receive a ranger tab, and still not be an Army ranger. And the Rangers are a specific unit that you have to join at the outset, right? They're not even like a regular Army unit. And so the fact that other units sing cadence about them sort of, is pretty dumb. And it's like demoralizing. Like, imagine being like imagine being a pro football team, and every time at the end of the practice, the coach is like, bring it in, guys, right? Like, if you're like the Cowboys, imagine the Cowboys, bring it in, guys, hands in, and then they're just like, go Eagles, and they're just like, what? And the coach is like, guys, the Eagles are the best football team in the country, and the Cowboys are like, what are we training for? That's what it is.
C-130 rolling down the strip, airborne rangers on a one-way trip. None of us are airborne rangers. None of us are ever going to do dangerous missions like that.
Also, if it's a one-way trip, yikes.
I swear to God, next person to do a cadence like that, I'm going to put you on a C-130, and then I'm going to
Oh, Jesus. So what's the most bored you've ever been? I know it's asking you to search your entire military career and try and find especially boring... Yeah.
Why don't you go first? You tell me what's the most bored you've ever been first.
Man, I don't know. There's like... there was a time where we had nothing to do for like 3 days, so we just stacked plastic bottles and threw rocks at them for the entirety of those 3 days.
Oh, yeah, that sounds like the military we know and love.
And that was it. That
Dang.
was all we did for like 3 days.
That is pretty bored. But yeah, there was one night where we were sitting out there and we took something similar to what you did, where we just took like a can, like an empty SpaghettiOs can, and put it on the curb, and we were just pitching rocks at it to try and knock it over.
It's pretty much all you can do when you got nothing to do. You just target practice.
So we've had a number of things like that. I remember shotgunning cans of Dr. Pepper until mostly the enlisted soldiers. I was not going to shotgun a Dr. Pepper because as an officer, it's a bad look. But they did. They did until they threw up. And frankly, no one was getting hurt, and we had a medic on site. It was probably the safest thing we could have done, given that we were in like an Afghan police station in Nangarhar province.
Just do that. And then we got...
Anyway, the reason you're always bored in my case, Afghan police stations, is because you have to do everything with the Afghan police. And that requires that the Afghan police be around. So we'd have like one Afghan police officer in the whole station. And so if he didn't want to come on a walk with us, which you go on like a patrol, right? Because if there's one person, you can't leave the station abandoned, right? Everything will get stolen. So you just had to wait until another police officer like wandered in.
Got yelled at for doing that.
Yeah, well, that's because you're in the military and you get yelled at for everything.
Yeah.
Fact.
Yeah. And then people wondered why I smoked like seriously a pack and a half of cigarettes a day. I used to have a grenade launcher.
You didn't have any grenades for it though, did you?
No, I mean, like, while I was in the military, I was issued a grenade launcher.
You ever fire a grenade launcher?
Yes, a lot.
No, you haven't.
Yes, I have. A lot.
How many grenades have you thrown?
Hand grenades?
Yeah.
Only like 2, but 40mm grenades, a lot of them.
Why would you, working in the armory, an enclosed space, be issued a grenade launcher?
Because, okay, so we got 6 new grenade launchers into our company, and they called me, and they said, hey, come down to the arms room and install these grenade launchers. I said, what M16s am I putting these grenade launchers on? And they said, pick 6 of them.
That's exactly how this goes, by the way. Though sometimes we would actually have a protocol. We would say, okay, we would assign, usually it was like team leads would get grenade launchers because smoke grenades. So you can shoot high explosive grenades, but you can also shoot things like smoke grenades to cover an escape or mark an area. And so we were like, hey, team leaders, 1, they're more responsible, so they should have the high explosives. But 2, in case they need to like mark something like an LZ or mark an enemy position, you you want them to be able to do that, and a grenade launcher is a great way to do it.
And I went, just seriously, any 6? And they said, yeah, any 6. And I went, okay, well, where's my weapon? Give me that. That is mine. I'm putting this grenade launcher on it.
Yeah, but then you have to carry it around everywhere, and you have to carry a boatload of 40mm grenades on all your patrols. So you may have shot yourself in the foot.
I have a grenade launcher now because I wanted a grenade launcher.
That is probably the biggest story arc of my deployment. Is like month 1, I had like 400 million pieces of gear, and by like month 9, I was like, I want 1 combat load of ammo, right, in my 6 or 9 magazines or whatever. I want a laser aiming module for my weapon, and I want a radio with a battery that's always charged. And if I don't have a charged battery, I will just steal one of yours or a spare. And that was it, right? Because you didn't need anything else, right? And they're like, oh, if I needed to mark a target, I had a laser, and every single aircraft can see a laser, right? And I had my radio, so I could talk to anyone else who had whatever it is I needed. So why should I be dragging around? And I carried like a paper map and stuff, but nothing like, no like big, heavy swag. It's called wisdom.
You've actually fired a grenade launcher.
I fired a lot of grenades. We went on a convoy live fire mission.
While you were deployed?
No, convoy live fire range. It was like a firing range where we rode in the back of trucks and shot at stuff with them.
Veronica's still not doing well because you blew her up with the grenade.
And basically, we were only supposed to go on 1, and they did 6 of them. I was only supposed to go on 1. I volunteered to go on all 6 because they had ordered too many practice grenades. So I ended up firing a lot of 40mm grenades. I used a
Okay, that's just the sort of fun shit you sometimes stumble into in the military. Is sometimes it's just like people are like, "Fuck it, who wants to run the convoy live fire again? They're gonna yell at us if we return with ammo." And there's always like, 40% of people who are just like, "Hell yeah, let's ride, dog,"
grenade launcher so much I didn't really even need to use a sight on it anymore. I would just be like, okay, well I need to be at roughly this elevation to hit a target at 300 meters.
And then you'd hit the target.
Yeah. I know a lot about grenade launchers.
I mean, that's one of the things that the military does a really bad job of. Like, their ability to train people to, like, really rudimentary proficiency is awesome, but it is so expensive to get people really good on their weapon systems. So, like, unless you have, like, a one-off fluke like that, where you can just spend a whole day just slinging lead, you're never going to get that good. There's one course that the military got it right, and it was called Squad Designated Marksman. And it was, the military standardized, like the standard training gets you to shoot up to 300 meters with your M4, but this course was like, let's take it out to 600 meters, which on a carbine is probably the furthest out you can reasonably be expected to shoot. And so they would give you, it was pre-deployment only, and they gave you a boatload of ammo, and they contracted like collegiate D1 marksmanship coaches to come by and teach all your soldiers the art of shooting at long distances and hitting human-sized targets. And that was awesome. You would show up, you'd sling a bunch of lead all day, right? You'd fire, the coach would come back, he'd talk to you, teach you in small groups, he'd give you instructions, you'd go back out. People put hundreds and hundreds of rounds downrange a day, which was like what most soldiers would probably fire in like maybe a year. So, again, that is the only time you really saw that, like, proficiency building stuff. But no such thing exists for, like, again, grenade launchers, even though you carry them in combat, or 50 cals, or Mark 19s.
Learn something new every day.
I can't believe I've never told you this story about grenade launchers.
You've got a lot of stories I haven't heard before.
Yeah, I had an underbarrel M203 grenade launcher for, like, almost a year while I was in the military, and then they took it away from me because they said,
I'm not doing so well here.
Then they took it away from me because they said, well, you're mostly going to be in a shop fixing weapons all the time. And I said, fine, I guess I don't get a grenade launcher anymore. So yeah, they took my grenade launcher away from me, and then they gave me a belt-fed machine gun. Which I didn't understand anymore, because I was like, you just said I'm going to be, like, in a shop, so why would I need a grenade launcher? And then you gave me a fully automatic belt-fed machine gun. Are you fucking stupid?
The answer to that question is yes, it's the military. They are.
And as it
Yeah.
Turns out they didn't really care that I had just put a grenade launcher on my rifle with like no authorization and had never been to a firing range with a grenade launcher before. They didn't care because the majority of people who had put grenade launchers on their weapons were super pissed about it because it meant they had to carry more weight.
Boom, told you.
I didn't care. I wanted a 40 millimeter grenade launcher.
Well, that is quite the story I had never heard before.
Yeah.
So I don't mean to bring up the conversation of poop again, but...
No, but you're going to, yes.
Yeah, you kind of reminded me of a story that happened to me when I was on a mission with some other Marines, and we also had a porta-john, and it was in the middle of nowhere, so it didn't get emptied.
So very, very rapidly filled with fecal material and urine.
Yes, to put it in a very gross way, that is true.
And also probably MRE wrappers and crayons and glue, because that's all Marines eat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there wasn't enough toilet paper, so what they used was fiberglass cloth.
Oh, God.
What?
Yeah, they had
That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
cloths that we normally use for cleaning up grease. We had some of that.
Oh, like not fiberglass, like a fiber cloth.
No, it was a fiberglass cloth. It was a cloth that had fiberglass in it.
Oh my god, that is the worst idea I think I...
Yeah, this is, if you wonder why they call Marines crayon eaters, it's because they do shit like this. You and I know what fiberglass is going to do to your bunghole, man.
I've ever heard.
And they were using it as toilet paper.
That is the worst idea I've ever heard.
The worst idea would be eating the fiberglass, but this is basically the same thing through the other end.
The itching would be indescribable.
It apparently didn't come to anyone's mind that maybe scratching your butt with something like that would be a bad idea.
Also, like the microfiber does tiny cuts. It's microscopic level cuts. It's like if your goal was to give yourself a cut and an infection, that's how you would do it.
So yeah, that was a fun weekend.
Please tell me you didn't use it.
I will not tell you anything more about that weekend.
Oh
That
my
was a
god,
terrible
you
weekend.
wiped your ass with fiberglass. That's like wiping your ass with poison ivy and going, no, this will be fine.
Man, I joined the military over a decade ago, and you joined even earlier than that. So
I joined 2004.
yeah, right out of high school.
If we want to get real technical about it, I didn't actually join right out of high school. I had to wait 6 months.
Because you weren't old enough?
No, because they said, hey, we have enough small arms repairmen for this fiscal year, so you have to wait until next fiscal year.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, do you want to be a truck driver? You could join the military right now. And I said, fuck you.
That's exactly how that goes. Shout out to that dude for standing up for small arms repair.
I drove a truck in the military. I drove Humvees and 7 tons.
Yeah, it wasn't your job, and you did it just as well as people whose job it was.
Yeah.
Go fig.
Yeah, the military is really weird about jobs. Like, apparently there's a whole MOS for just HVAC repair. I've never in my entire life, right, including a deployment to Afghanistan where having your AC go out was a threat to your life, right? Because the armored trucks, the MRAPs they're like ovens. They're built almost exactly like ovens, right? Totally enclosed with thick, heavy metal plates forming insulation on all sides with a tiny, tiny hole in the top that sort of lets heat escape. So, but windows that let sunlight in. So it's like the ultimate global warming simulator, right? And when the world outside is already 116 degrees and you have global warming simulator 2010 in the form of your truck, right? If the AC goes out for like 15 minutes, it's unbearable, right? Like, I don't mean like, ooh, it's so hot, I need a cool sip of tea. Like, no, literally humans will start to die of strokes. So yeah, the idea that somewhere out there was a military professional trained to repair AC, never saw the person in my life. Right? We only ever had contractors. It would be these highly paid dudes in their 50s with beer guts who would show up in polos and khakis and just be like, yep, need some more juice in your AC. And then they would pull out their Gee Whiz juice and juice it up and then fly off in a helicopter and get paid more to do that than any of us made in a year.
Well, my job in the military was basic water sanitation engineer, but the old acronym for it was hygiene equipment operator. Mm-hmm. So HEO. And there was one guy in our job training corps. He was a big burly guy. We called him Ox, but he was like 200 pounds of all muscle. We were like, why did you join as a hygiene equipment operator? I was supposed to be heavy equipment operator, but my recruiter got the paperwork wrong.
Oh my god.
That seems like par for the course. But also, you read your own goddamn paperwork. I'm sorry, but they put everything in that contract, and it's not that incomprehensible, right? You just have to read it carefully. Don't sign it in the office. Go with your parent. Go with someone else who's been in the military so that you can have that conversation, right? And read the contract.
Well, let's go find Knight Astor and be like, not Knight Astor.
Knight Astor.
Sorry.
You just promoted First Sergeant Astor to... Oh, I guess I got a promotion, don't I, recruit? There was a gunnery sergeant who was my drill instructor, and he gave me a command, and I was so exhausted, I just said, yes, ma'am. And I stopped short, and he looked at me. You were going to say, yes, sir, right? You weren't going to say, yes, ma'am, were you? And I said, yes, Master Sergeant.
Wait, what rank was he?
He was gunnery sergeant, so one rank below Master Sergeant.
He got a promotion. Oh, good, a promotion! In basic training, I named one of my weapons.
What did you name your weapon?
Oh, everyone did that.
I named my M16 Piper.
No, you didn't.
I did, actually. I named my M16 Piper in basic training.
That was like 10 years ago, before Fallout 4 came out.
Oh, yeah, because Piper has never been a name.
Why did you decide to name your rifle Piper?
Because everybody else was naming their rifles after their girlfriends or wives or whatever, and I didn't have either, so I was like, I'm going to name it Piper, because I like that name. It's a nice name.
It's just a name you liked.
I like the name Piper.
And then you spent every night with Piper.
Yep.
I named my rifle too.
What'd you name it?
I named her after the serial number, so it was easy to remember. Good old 0309823.
Yeah, in basic training, so I know you're like, Paul, you were an officer, you didn't go to basic training. I did. I worked out this deal at the time because, again, the military would do literally anything and was so desperate for people. I worked out a deal where I basically had a sweetheart deal with a good National Guard guy, recruiter, and he was like, yeah, sure, we will put you on an ROTC contract, but we'll literally have you join the Guard for 9 months just to go to attend basic training and then sign over to an ROTC scholarship, and you'll do the rest of your ROTC training, which was awesome because, again, you barely get trained on weapons. Right? So the fact that I could spend 9 weeks on the government's dime getting like sort of proficient at military stuff so that I could actually maybe do my job and not be a total like goober officer when I started was worth every penny. And it's also like if you're going to sign a contract, right? If you're going to join the military, you might as well get everything you want from them, right? You're going to sign the contract anyway. So anyway, went to basic training at Relax in Jackson, and everybody named their rifle, and mine I named Vera. And if you know that is a Firefly reference, that's what the character Jane named his very favorite rifle.
Let me tell you a fun story about when Mike joined the military. I was at my horrible base of Fort Polk, the asshole of the entire world.
Fort Polk actually is. I've never met someone who had anything good to say about Fort Polk.
I was playing video games, and I get a call from a number I don't recognize. This guy on the line says, hi, my name is Sergeant whatever. I'm with the United States Marine Corps. And he says, I have heard from Mike that you might be interested in joining the Marines.
Okay.
I didn't have the heart to tell him, no, I'm already in the military. So what I said is, no, I'm going to college. And he says, you know, if you join the Marines, they'll actually help pay for college. And I said, no, it's okay. I got a trust fund. I'm going to be a doctor.
You said that?
Yeah. After talking with him for about a good 10 minutes on the benefits of joining the Marines, while I'm actually already in the military, I finished talking to him. I called Mike, and I said, Mike, why'd you tell him I was interested in joining the Marines? And you just started laughing. Said you thought it was funny.
That sounds like me, all right.
I was like, Mike, I told you how bad the military is. Why'd you join?
Oh, was he contacting you because he was trying to verify that I was...
No, he was contacting me because when you went to the recruiter station, you wrote down 4 people's names that might be interested in...
Oh my god, that's a brilliant troll job, actually.
Join the military, and you wrote down my name, knowing full fucking well that I was already in the military.
I actually put down 4 people's names, all of whom were in the military.
Probably all of whom were already in the military.
So he couldn't harass civilians.
That is brilliant. Oh my God, guys. That was great. That was great. I'm so thrilled I got to do a little bit of my own story time reminiscing. Every one of their stories sounds perfectly true. Obviously, as you saw from the fact that I accurately predicted why everyone would hate having a grenade launcher, which sounds like something that would be sweet. Yeah, just proof that even as a small arms repairman, and honestly, especially as a small arms repairman, because it's just like logistics in the military is so weird. Right? Like, infantry people are, like, dumb, but they're committed to the infantry. Small arms repair people, they're smart, and they're like this guy. Like, they're not, like, bad people, but they're just like, listen, I just want to tinker with a gun for 8 hours and then go home to my wife and kid and collect a paycheck, right? Which I respect. You know, never work for free. So, yeah. Great stories. If you like this video and you want to see me check out more Mikeburnfire stuff, man, let me know in the comments. And, of course, be sure to check out the merch store. Check out the Discord, that's where I hang out more than anywhere else. And check out the other channel, right? Always got some good content there. Okay, guys, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next time.